This video is about Lesson 4-2, Angles of Triangles. Some new vocabulary that you should be aware of. 1 is an auxiliary line. 2 is an exterior angle. 3 is remote interior angles. And 4 is a corollary. The first thing we're going to talk about is the triangle sum theorem. The triangle sum theorem states that the sum of the measures of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Here's proof of why the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. If I take a triangle and I rip it into 3 parts, and it doesn't matter if those parts are congruent, but I am separating it into 3 angles. If I take these angles and I rotate them so that they are next to each other, and instead of having just 3 angles, now I have 3 adjacent angles. If I look at this and I draw an auxiliary line, which is a line that didn't exist before, but it is there in parallel, you see that the sum of the angles of a triangle add up to a straight line, and that a straight line is 180 degrees. So an example of how this would work, we want to find the measure of angle 3. Well, angle 3 is over here. And here's 48, here's angle 2, and here's angle 1. Because DE and AB are not parallel, I cannot just assume that those angles are the same. And I can see that angle 1 and angle 2 are going to be congruent because they're both vertical angles. So I can find angle 1 by taking 38 plus 67, and I get 105, and I get 105, which means that angle 1 is 180 minus 105, so that is 75. Which means that angle 2 is 75 because they are vertical angles. I can then take 75 and 48. I add those together, and I get 123. Well, 180 minus 123 is 57, which is C. I also need to be aware of the exterior angle theorem. The exterior angle theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle, and an exterior angle is right here. An exterior angle, and this is a definition you should write down. An exterior angle forms a linear pair with an interior angle of the triangle. So angle 1 is an exterior angle because it forms a linear pair with angle ACB. The measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of the 2 remote interior angles. Remote interior angles are angles that do not touch angle 1. Angle ACB touches angle 1, so it's not remote, because remote means that it's far away. A remote control lets you control something from far away. If you are on a remote island, you are far away. So the angles that are far away from 1 are B and A. So I can say that A plus B adds up to 1. So here is an example that uses algebra. If I want to find the measure of angle FLW, which is right here, and I only have x's and variables, I can't figure out what this angle is to make a linear pair. I simply set the 2 remote interior angles equal to the exterior angle. So I would get x plus 32 equals 2x minus 48. Now I solve. I'm going to subtract x from each side, and then I'm going to add 48, and I get that x is equal to 80. Once I find that x is equal to 80, I simply substitute 80 in for x, and I get 2 times 80 minus 48 is 112 degrees. Here is another example that you should try to solve. How I would set this problem up is that the two remote interior angles are equal to the exterior angles. So I would say x plus 90, because this is a 90-degree angle, is equal to 3x plus 10. And then I would simply solve. I would subtract x from each side, I would subtract 10, and then I divide by 2, and that is how B is my correct answer. Corollaries are statements that are true that relate to a previous theorem. The triangle sum corollaries are a direct relationship to the fact that there are 180 degrees in a triangle. The acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. Well, if this is 90 degrees and I have 180 degrees in a triangle, 180 minus this right angle, which is 90, gives me 90 degrees. So that means A and B have to add up to 90, which makes them complementary. There can be at most one right or obtuse angle in a triangle. Well, if you think that if this is a right angle, if there's another right angle, 90 plus 90 is 180. Even if you say 1 degree for the third angle, that's more than 180. If an angle is obtuse and it's 91 and 91, well, that right there is more than 180, so there would be too many degrees in the triangle, therefore it would not be a triangle. Corollary 4.3 states that the measure of each angle of an equiangular triangle is 60 degrees. If I have a triangle and I say that each angle is x degrees because they are equal for equiangular, if I write an equation and say that 3x is equal to 180, that means each x is 60 degrees. 60 times 3 adds up to 180, which is the sum of the degrees of a triangle. We want to find the measure of each numbered angle. You can find these in any order, but we are going to start by finding angle 1. Angle 1, we use the exterior angle theorem. Because the 48 and the 56 are remote interior angles, they add up to angle 1, which gives us 104 degrees. If I know that angle 1 is 104 degrees, I can find angle 2 because they are supplementary, they are a linear pair. Therefore, I just take 180 minus 104 and I get 76 is angle 2. Angle 3 is going to be equal to 90 minus 48 because since this side is a right angle, this is a right angle. So therefore, angle 3 is 42. If I would like to find this angle that is right here, I know that it's 90 minus 34. I know that angle 2 from the previous page is 76. And therefore, I know I can add 56, which is what is left over here because these two together should be 90, plus 76 from the previous slide, and subtract it from 180 to get 48. If I want to get angle 5, I know that I would just take 90 minus 41 to get angle 5 because these are complementary. That is the next slide to show that it is 49 degrees. So the measure for angle 1 is 104, the measure for angle 2 is 76, the measure for angle 3 is 42, the measure for angle 4 is 48, and the measure for angle 5 is 49. You do not need to find those in any particular order. Here is an example that you should complete to find angle 3. Please remember that there is no way to directly get angle 3 without getting at least one, most likely two other angles. The correct answer is C because I know since these two add up to 130 degrees, angle 1 is going to be 50. Well, angle 1 is equal to angle 2 because they are vertical, and angle 2 and angle 3 add up to 135. Since this is 50, I would take 135 and subtract 50, and that gives me that angle 3 is 85 degrees. Here is another example where you need to find the measure of angle 1. Please keep in mind that even though the picture is very complicated, you can find angle 1 in one step. It is 115 because angle 1 is an exterior angle, and 75 and 40 are the remote interior angles, so you add them together to get 115. Angle 2 is 72 degrees because since this little angle here is 33, remember vertical angles make this 75. If you add the two of them together and subtract it from 180, you get 72. That concludes our video for 4-2 angles of a triangle. Please don't forget to bring any questions you may have to class.